Hello everyone, and a huge welcome to this coding adventure and BrainOmega channel. Have you ever seen those incredibly realistic AI-generated images and wondered how they're made? It can feel like magic, but today we're going to pull back the curtain and become the magicians ourselves. One of the cornerstone technologies that kicked off the modern generative AI revolution is the Generative Adversarial Network, or GAN. Please note that this is a simplified version of our GAN, which you can access on our GitHub repository. The link is available in the video description. We will also publish an advanced version of the code soon. In this video, we're going to build a complete working GAN from the ground up using PyTorch. We're not just going to import a pre-made model, we are going to write the code for our generator network that creates images and our discriminator network that judges them. We'll watch them compete, learn, and evolve right before our eyes. This is a hands-on journey from a blank script to an AI that can generate handwritten digits that look just like the real thing. It's a foundational project for anyone serious about deep learning. So, grab your favorite drink, open up your code editor, and let's get started. So, what's the big idea behind a GAN? Before we write a single line of code, let's understand the beautiful core concept. The best analogy is to think of a game between an art forger and an art detective. We have two neural networks playing against each other. The first is the generator. This is our art forger. Its goal is to get so good at creating fake art, in our case, images of handwritten digits, that no one can tell it's a fake. It starts out completely clueless, taking a canvas of pure random noise and just splashing paint on it. The second network is the discriminator, our sharp-eyed art detective. Its job is to be an expert critic. It looks at an image and must determine if it's a priceless original from the real museum, our dataset, or a forgery created by our generator. Now here's the adversarial part. We train them together in a loop. The detective gets punished for mislabeling a real image as fake or a fake image as real. The forger gets punished when the detective successfully catches its fakes. So, as the detective gets better, the forger is forced to create more sophisticated fakes to pass inspection. This constant, escalating competition is the engine of learning that pushes our generator to create incredibly realistic images. Alright, let's dive into the code. Before we build our main models, we have two small but very important helper functions. First, let's talk about weights init. A notorious problem with training GANs is that they can be very unstable. Sometimes the generator finds one good image and just keeps making that, or the gradients just vanish. The authors of the DC GAN paper, a landmark in GAN research, discovered that how you initialize the random weights in your neural networks at the very beginning can have a huge impact on training stability. They found that initializing weights from a normal distribution with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 0.02 worked really well. This function, weights init, is our tool to apply this specific initialization scheme to all the relevant layers in our models. It's a small trick that can make a big difference. Second, we have our show function. This is purely for us, the humans. Our generator will be producing PyTorch tensors on the GPU with pixel values ranging from -1 to 1. To actually see these as images, we need to do a few things. This function first detaches the tensor from the computation graph and moves it to the CPU because Matplotlib can't work with GPU tensors. Then it reshapes the data and, most importantly, remaps the pixel values from the -1 to 1 range to the 0 to 1 range that image viewers expect. Finally, it arranges them in a nice grid and plots them. This function will be our window into the generator's mind. Next up, let's get our experiment organized with the GAN config data class. When you work on a machine learning project, you'll have dozens of settings: learning rates, batch sizes, image sizes, directory paths, and more. Hard coding these numbers directly into your training script is a recipe for disaster. It becomes messy and impossible to track your experiments. A much cleaner approach is to use a configuration class, and Python's data class is perfect for this. It's like a central control panel for our entire project. We can define all our key parameters right here. For example, S dimension is the dimensionality of our input noise vector. Think of this as the DNA for each image. A 100-dimensional vector of random numbers is the seed from which an entire image will be grown. lar is our learning rate, and betas are specific parameters for the Adam optimizer that control its momentum. By keeping all these settings in one place, we can easily tweak them, run a new experiment, and see what works best, all without changing our core logic. Now for our first major player, the generator. Remember, this is our art forger. Its mission is to take a simple 100-dimensional random noise vector and transform it into a complex 784-dimensional vector that represents a 28 by 28 pixel image. So, how does it do that? We're using a NN sequential model, which is like an assembly line for data. The noise vector Z goes in one end and the image comes out the other. We're using a series of linear layers to progressively upsample or increase the number of features, from our ZDIM of 100 up to 256, then 512, then 1024, and finally to our target image dimension of 784. After each upsampling layer, we use batch norm 1D. This is a normalization technique that helps stabilize training by keeping the outputs of each layer in a consistent range, which is especially important in GANs. Then, a ReLU activation introduces nonlinearity, allowing the model to learn more complex relationships. The final layer is a tanh activation function. This is a very deliberate choice. Tanh squishes all the output values into a range of -1 to 1. This is crucial because we're going to normalize our real input images to the exact same range. By doing this, we ensure that the fake images created by the generator and the real images from our dataset are on a level playing field. With our forger built, we now need our detective, the discriminator. Its architecture is essentially the mirror image of the generator. Its job is to take a high-dimensional input, a 784-pixel image, and classify it, boiling it all down to a single number, representing its verdict, real or fake. It's also an NN sequential model. It takes the flattened image and passes it through linear layers that progressively downsample the number of features, from 512 down to 256. For our activation function, we're using leaky ReLU. This is a popular choice in GAN discriminators. Why? A standard ReLU function outputs 0 for any negative input, which means the neuron can die and stop learning. Leaky ReLU has a small non-zero slope for negative inputs, so it always allows a small gradient to flow through. This helps keep our network alive and learning throughout the training process. Finally, the output layer is a single linear neuron that produces one number, a logit. We don't apply a sigmoid function here because our loss function, BCE with logits loss, is designed to take raw logits for better numerical stability. This single number is the discriminator's final judgment. Okay, our models are designed. Now let's prepare the real art for our detective to study. That's the job of the getDataLoader function. Every image in the MNIST dataset will pass through a small assembly line of transformations we define with transforms compose. First, transforms. Resize, make sure every image is the correct size. Then transforms to tensor does two things. It converts the image data into a PyTorch tensor and scales the pixel values from their original range into a new range of 0 to 1. The final transforms normalize 0.5, 0.5 is the key. it takes the 0-1 range and remaps it to 1-1. Why? Because this now perfectly matches the negative 1,1 output range of our generator's TAN activation. This synchronization is critical for fair competition. We then load the MNIST dataset with these transforms and wrap it all in a data loader. The data loader is a fantastic PyTorch utility that automatically handles creating mini batches of data, shuffling the data every epoch to ensure our model doesn't just memorize the order, and using multiple CPU workers to load data in the background so our GPU is never waiting. Alright, it's time to enter the training arena. In the first part of our train function, we do all the setup for the main event. First, we create our output directories and set up a summary writer. This writer is our connection to TensorBoard, a powerful tool that will let us visualize our training progress, like plotting our loss curves in real time. Next, we call our getDataLoader to get our data iterator, and we initialize our generator and discriminator models, making sure to move them to the GPU with .2CFG device if one is available. Then, we immediately call apply weights init on both models. This is where we use our helper function to set their initial weights according to the best practices for GANs. Finally, we set up our criterion, which is BCE with logits loss, the perfect loss function for this kind of binary classification task. And, crucially, we create two separate Adam optimizers. OptGen will only update the weights of the generator, and OptDisc will only update the weights of the discriminator. They are two separate players in this game, so they need their own dedicated optimizers. Now we enter the main training loop, and the adversarial game begins. For every batch of images, round 1 goes to the detective, the discriminator. Our goal here is to make it a better critic. We start by calling optDisc 0grad to clear any old gradients from the previous step. The discriminator's training has two parts. First, we show it the real images. We calculate its loss by comparing its predictions, disk real output, against a tensor of all ones, because we want it to confidently label these as real. Second, we teach it about fakes. We generate a batch of fake images using the generator. Then we pass these fakes to the discriminator. This time we compare its predictions, disk fake output, against a tensor of all zeros. Now look at this line, disk fake detach. The .detach call here is the most critical detail in this step. It tells PyTorch to treat the fake tensor as a constant, as if it were just an image we loaded from a file. This effectively freezes the generator, ensuring that when we call lossDisk.backward, the gradients will only be calculated for the discriminator's weights. We are exclusively training the detective in this round. Finally, we average the loss from the real and fake batches, backpropagate, and update the discriminator's weights. The detective is now a little bit smarter. Okay, the detective has had its turn. Round 2. The forger, our generator, gets to learn. Its goal is simple: to get better at fooling the now smarter discriminator. First, we clear the generator's old gradients with optgen 0grad. Now here comes the beautiful clever trick of GANs. We take the same batch of fake images we created a moment ago and pass them through the discriminator one more time. But notice, this time we do not use .detach. We want the computational graph to remain connected, so gradients can flow all the way back to the generator. So how do we calculate the generator's loss? We compare the discriminator's output on these fake images to real labels, a tensor of all ones. We are essentially telling the loss function a lie. We are saying the generator's goal is to produce images that the discriminator classifies as real. The loss gene therefore represents how well the generator failed at this goal. By calling loss.gen backward, We calculate the gradients that will teach the generator how to adjust its weights to make its output images even more likely to be classified as real by the discriminator in the future. We then take a step with the generator's optimizer, and the forger's training for this round is complete. Training a GAN without watching it is like flying blind. Is the generator actually improving, or is it just making noise? Is one model overpowering the other? This section of the code is our cockpit dashboard, where we track our progress. Throughout the loop, we accumulate the loss*disk and loss*gen values. Then every log interval steps, we print out the average losses. This gives us a quick numerical check. Ideally, you want to see both losses staying relatively balanced. If one drops to 0, it means one player has completely overpowered the other, and learning has stopped. More importantly, we use torch.nograd. This is a context manager that tells PyTorch, for this block of code, we're just looking, not training, so you don't need to track gradients. This makes everything inside run faster and use less memory. We generate a new sample of fake images and use our show function to plot them next to a batch of real images. This visual feedback is everything. You'll literally see your generator go from producing fuzzy static to recognizable digits over the course of training. Finally, we use our writer to log the scalar loss values to TensorBoard, which will create beautiful graphs for us to analyze later. Finally, let's look at the very bottom of the script. This is standard Python that ensures the code inside only runs when you execute this file directly from the command line, not when it's imported by another file. Here, we're using Python's built-in argparse library. This is what transforms our script into a powerful command line tool. By defining arguments like ~epochs or ~lr, we give ourselves the ability to control our experiments without ever having to edit the source code. This is how you would work in a real research or production environment. You can start one training run with pythontrain.py, epochs50, and then start another one in a different terminal with pythontrain.py, epochs100, LR 0.0001 to compare results. The script parses any arguments you provide, uses them to create our GAN config object, and then passes that configuration into our train function to kick off the whole process. It's a very clean and professional way to handle experimentation. So let's take a step back and appreciate what you've just built. This isn't just a script. It's a complete system embodying a fundamental concept in AI. You have built a generator, an AI artist that can create novel content from nothing but random noise. You've built a discriminator, a critical AI judge that learns to differentiate real from fake. And most importantly, you've orchestrated the adversarial training loop, the competitive dance that allows both networks to achieve a state of equilibrium where the generated images become indistinguishable from reality. You've done this all within a clean, configurable project. You now have a deep, hands-on understanding of how GANs work. The next steps are up to you. Try a new dataset like Fashion MNIST. The biggest leap would be to convert our simple linear models into convolutional ones to build a DC GAN, which will yield even more impressive images. But for now, play with the hyperparameters, see what breaks, see what works, and truly make this project your own. Thank you so much for following along with this deep dive. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more content that goes beyond the surface. Happy generating!